Welcome back, Focus Learners, to another explainer. Today, we are taking on a topic that honestly haunts medical students and biology enthusiasts alike. We're going to take a wildly complex anatomical web and transform it into a simple, easy-to-reconstruct mental map. And we're going to do this using a brilliantly straightforward, step-by-step drawing method. Have you ever just stared at a textbook diagram of the nerves traveling down the human arm and thought to yourself, how on earth do I memorize the body's most complex nerve network without getting completely tangled up? I mean, let's be real, the brachial plexus is notoriously difficult to learn. It literally looks like a random plate of spaghetti. But I promise you, by the end of this explainer, you're going to have a solution that makes this structure incredibly easy to draw and remember completely from scratch.
Okay, let's dive into our roadmap for today. We'll start with the brachial plexus basics, then move to roots and trunks, divisions and chords, the main terminal nerves, and finally, mapping the minor branches.
Section 1. The brachial plexus basics. Building the hierarchy.
Look, before we start rattling off a dizzying list of specific nerve names, we absolutely have to establish our structural foundation. To prevent total cognitive overload, we're not going to look at the whole picture all at once. Instead, we're going to systematically build our mental drawing using 5 sequential anatomical stages. Think of it kind of like a flowing river that merges and splits. Everything in the brachial plexus passes through these 5 phases: roots, trunks, divisions, chords, and finally the terminal branches. Keep this hierarchy right in the back of your mind as we go.
Moving right along to Section 2. Roots and trunks, starting at the spine.
So, if you've got a piece of paper handy, you'd start your drawing with 5 straight, small horizontal lines stacked right on top of one another. These represent the foundational roots of the brachial plexus, coming right off the spinal cord. You just label these top to bottom as C5, C6, C7, C8, and T1, which, by the way, you might sometimes see referred to in older texts as D1.
Next up, we need to connect them. And the great thing here is that it's highly symmetrical. You just join the upper 2 roots, C5 and C6, together into a downward-pointing triangular shape. Then you do the exact same thing for the lower 2 roots, joining C8 and T1 into an upward-pointing triangle so they meet. That middle line, C7, it doesn't merge with anything just yet. It simply stays straight and is drawn just a little bit shorter than the upper and lower points.
And boom, that brilliantly illustrates our first major transition. Immediately after those roots merge, we enter the region of the trunks. I love this analogy from the source material. Think of this part exactly like the trunk of a tree growing directly out from its roots. Because of how we just merged our lines, we're left with 3 distinct pathways. We just call them the upper trunk, the middle trunk, and the lower trunk.
All right, Section 3. Divisions and chords, the big split and recombination.
Now what's really interesting about this next phase is where our tree trunks start to branch out. Every single one of our 3 trunks divides into an anterior and a posterior division. To draw this without getting your wires crossed, there's a neat visual trick. You draw the posterior divisions as dotted lines that form a central, arrow-shaped structure pointing inward. By drawing 2 crossing arrows and making sure those posterior paths are distinctly dotted, you can clearly separate the anterior pathways from the posterior ones without ever losing your place.
After the split, of course, comes the recombination into what we call the chords. Because the plexus physically curves as it travels down the body, these are named based on their actual physical placement, the medial, lateral, and posterior chords. You remember that dotted arrow-shaped structure we just mapped out? Well, all 3 of those dotted posterior divisions merge together to form one single thick pathway, the posterior chord. Meanwhile, the anterior divisions merge to form the lateral and medial chords.
Section 4. The main terminal nerves, the final destinations.
Okay, now we're looking at the major nerve pathways that travel all the way down the arm. At the very end of our map, the chords split one last time into our 5 primary terminal nerves. You'll draw these as branching lines reaching out to the right. We have the musculocutaneous nerve, the axillary nerve, the radial nerve, the median nerve, and the ulnar nerve. It's totally worth noting right here that both the radial and axillary nerves arise straight from that posterior chord we built out of our dotted lines earlier.
But hey, before we wrap up the main pathways, take a really close look at the median nerve. Notice how it sits perfectly in the middle of your drawing? That is completely by design. It's uniquely formed by a branch from the lateral cord, called the lateral root, and a branch from the medial cord, called the medial root, coming together in a big V or Y shape. Once you make that final connection, the main structural scaffold of your brachial plexus is 100% complete.
And finally, Section 5, mapping the minor branches, filling in the details.
We've essentially built the main highway. Now we just need to map out the local exits. Let's systematically break down the branches coming off the proximal ends, the roots and trunks. You'll add a line pulling from root C5, C6, and C7 all together. This forms the long thoracic nerve. There's also a single small branch coming off the roots called the dorsal scapular nerve. Moving just a bit further down the line, exactly 2 nerves originate from the upper trunk. You just draw 2 little lines branching upward for the suprascapular nerve and the nerve to subclavius. And nicely enough, no minor nerves originate from the divisions, so we can just skip right over them.
So, the crucial point to take away here is just how mathematically simple the final minor branches are when we reach the chords. Honestly, it's just a matter of counting. From the lateral cord, there is exactly 1 minor branch, the lateral pectoral nerve. From the posterior cord, we draw 3 branches, the upper subscapular, lower subscapular, and the thoracodorsal right smack in the middle of them. And from the medial cord, we again draw 3 branches, the medial pectoral, the medial cutaneous of the arm, and the medial cutaneous of the forearm. 1, 3, 3. It is exactly that structured.
And for those last 2 nerves on the medial cord, there's actually a brilliant spatial memory trick you can use. If you're ever sitting there wondering which one to draw first, just look at your own body. Because your anatomical arm is physically higher up than your forearm, its corresponding cutaneous nerve is drawn relatively higher on the medial cord line. The logic of the body directly dictates the logic of the drawing.
And just like that, the chaotic, intimidating tangle of the brachial plexus turns into a perfectly organized step-by-step diagram. We went from 5 simple root lines, merged them into tree trunks, split them with dotted arrows into divisions, recombined them into chords, and traced them all the way out to their final terminal nerves. So the question I want to leave you with today is this. Now that you actually understand the logic behind the layout, can you grab a pen, start with C5, and build the entire map yourself? I highly challenge you to try it right